problem. So here we go, women's quadruple scull, 2,000 metres, and there are the British quartet here. Yeah, the British quartet, it's not going quite so well off the start. In fact, I think they're sixth now. We were very favoured with a close-up shot of them, but they've dropped back in sixth. This is very early doors. It's a sprint off the line now, they're going to have to find a race pace quite soon, that British crew. They are from the top of the picture. They're third down from the top. They're now slipped out to the left of the picture, which puts them in last place. But they're not a last place crew in this squad and in this field. And I'm sure when the race pace settles and they get into some sort of a rhythm, they'll find that they're able to hang on a bit better. Well, of course, since the great performance in Sydney, when we were second in the Olympic quadruple scull, and a closing second at that, I think there's a sense of great belief in the women's sculling squad, in the British women's sculling squad, that, now things are really possible. And if there is a weakness in the German make-up this season, well, this could be the moment really to take the opportunity. Yes, I mean, the British women's sculling squad, after all, in 1997, Gillian Lindsay and Miriam Batten got their first medal in women's sculling, heavyweight sculling, which was in Aiguebelette, when they got a silver medal in the double sculls. Then they broke through, they won the World Championships the year later in Cologne. Then they won the Olympic silver medal in the quadruple scull. So they've been on the block for a while, and it's interesting to see how they confront the Germans, who have been dominant in this field for so long, as we discussed earlier, and who have slipped a bit in the double sculls. We've got 2 ahead of 2 in the double sculls. What are we going to be able to do in the quadruple? Now, the Germans are very interesting, because here they are in the blue boat, which is second from the bottom of the picture, and they're not looking dominant in this race at all. By complete and utter contrast, what a terrific start by the Ukrainians. 1:32.32 for the first quarter, and it's Tetiana Kolesnikova, I should say, who's in the stroke seat, and in 3 behind her, Elena Senkiv. Now, those 2 were in the boat last year that finished in 6th place, so they represent the experience and the knowledge of this boat class. And the Ukrainians, they've come close a couple of times in 99 and before that, and the Olympics in 96, they were silver medalists, so they do have a little bit of a background in this women's quad. Well, looking at the picture we've got now, with the Ukrainians out in front and the rest of the field very, very close to each other, it looks like races have looked for the last 20 years, but there's always been the Germans that far in front, and this is a complete turn up for the books. I've never seen a German crew back in the pack, struggling alongside the Brits and everybody else, and somebody else so far, but not just so far in front, but so confidently in front. They're not working too hard, they're not busting a gut, they're just controlling this race, and that's absolutely wonderful as they hit halfway in 3:07, which is not remarkably fast times. It's times of 15 to 20 seconds off gold medal standard at the moment, because there's a tricky crosswind at different parts of the course. It's a beautiful course, this, but it is subject to different winds at different places, and you have to adapt your sculling rhythm. Whoa, there's a bit of a wobble there, and the German crew looks like crab. In the 3-seat, Magdalena Schmuder, who's the newcomer to this boat, just lost her right skull for a stroke there. And so we've got Great Britain and Germany, the Olympic and world champions, as David has pointed out, for years past. Germany with the Olympic silver medalists side by side, neck and neck, but out of view to the right of your picture, you can just see their wake, is a Ukrainian crew that has just shocked this field rigid. This race would make complete sense if they weren't there, but unfortunately they are, and they're winning by miles. Yes, the British side, of course they were aware of it. I mean, they were a second quicker than the Ukrainian, the second 500 metres, so they're aware of what the problem is. The question is, can they do anything about it? At the moment, they're getting the better of the argument of the Germans. Yes, that's Alison Mowbray at stroke, just moving out of the picture there. There's Sarah Winklis and Elise Laverick now. Sarah Winklis to the left, Elise Laverick to the right. And they're sculling quite nicely. Now, what happened was they got a dreadful first 500, no idea what happened there, but they have hit a race pace, and they have managed to hold on to the tail end
of the Ukrainian crew and onto the Germans, and dropping the rest of the field behind them by really good sculling in the middle 1,000 of the race. Now they come into the last 500, and we'll see what they can do over that patch, having set such a fine pace in the middle of the race.
Well, I can tell you in terms of times there at the 1500 metre mark, the Ukrainians absolutely dominant through there in 1:36.51, and times coming up now for the British and the Germans. The British 1:37.92, the Germans 1:38.46. So still the British getting the edge over the German quad.
Yeah, the Germans are just a fraction in front at the moment. If you look at the line of boys moving from bottom left to top right of your picture, you can see the Germans have now got a few feet over Great Britain, but this is a neck and neck race and fantastically exciting for British sculling now.
Just to mention the young woman in the bow of that German quad, Julia Heitmann, yet another promising youngster, bronze medal in the junior world single sculls last season. But the Ukrainians, they've taken this race by storm, and as you said absolutely correctly, are we really looking at the Ukrainians? Shouldn't that be the Germans?
No, they're sculling very nicely. The Germans, they haven't got the blades parallel, they're shouting at each other, there's all sorts of discrepancies in the crew which are very unusual to look at, and I think although they are leading the British who are in the background there, the British are actually sculling more nicely and more easily, and I think with better prospects for the long term, and neither of these two crews is closing on the Ukrainians, who look very comfortable out there in front.
Well, Jutta Lau has been the woman who's commanded the women's sculling squad for Germany for so many successful seasons. I think there's going to be a definite inquest into the performances at this regatta, as Germany just outstay the British for second place, with the Dutch and the Danes, and Belarus will be across the line. There they go in sixth place at the top of the picture. Well, that's another shock, but you cannot take anything away from this Ukrainian performance. And Tatiana Kolesnikova, Elena Senkiv, Natalia Guba, and Olena Ronzina from stroke to bow, well, they deserve a big pat on the back, and will we see the same quartet in Lucerne?
Right, that's Julia Heitzmann we saw in the picture there. She's the bow girl of the German quad. She's been brought up from the junior squad. She was the junior single sculler last year. She's been brought up and plonked straight into their senior quad. This does not point to the strength and depth that they've had in scullers in the German system in the past, and it suggests to me that they're actually having to scrape around a bit to find people to build up their squad. So I'm not sure how much future progress we'll see from the Germans. It may be that after 20 years of dominance in this kind of event, they're going to find it very difficult to get back on top.
And you've got to say that the New Zealanders, again, they were silver medalists with the Eberswindle sisters doubling up last year. This result is not going to go without notice down under by them or indeed the Australians.